psychologist Guy Winch, I was reading something he'd written earlier, and he talked about how adaptability actually makes us happier and more satisfied with life. It takes out the hopelessness. Would you guys speak to that a little bit? What does that mean, that being adaptable takes out the hopelessness?
Because you recognize there's room for change and there's room for things to get better.
For me, it's about accepting the principal fact of life is that change is the only constant that you're going to experience.
That's very Buddha.
If you're not willing to accept what life is and what this experience we're all going through is, then you're not going to achieve any level of happiness or fulfillment. The change is part of it. The change is the journey. The journey is the point, if you will. That the path is the goal and the goal is the path. I mean, I understand why people don't like it, because change is uncomfortable. And part of our biology is to seek comfort. It's a very mammalian trait. We want that sort of comfort. We want, blankets and cuddles and all these sorts of things because they make us feel secure. But insecurity, in my life coach training, it was really interesting. The trainer said you have two choices. You can choose freedom or you can choose security. You can't have both. Now, at first I was like, wait, no, that's not totally true. But it is. I mean, if you think about it, you can either be secure and comfortable and static, or you can be free and open to change and open to the lesson and open to the journey. There's really no middle road there, because if you start approaching either side with if you approach security with freedom, there goes your security. If you approach freedom with security, you're kind of restraining yourself and you're not accessing true freedom. So it's about accepting that it is dangerous and there will be discomfort, and with that discomfort comes new levels of comfortability. So eventually the more discomfort you go through, the more comfortable you're going to be in multiple settings.
Diana wasn't chiming in anymore there.
No.
We all just checking the Facebook Live.
I am checking everything, trying to make sure it's going.
All right. So one of the things that I also found that for a reason to be adaptable is that it helps us adjust to the changes in life, which we're already talking about. But you're right. Like I am a huge follower of Buddhist, I want to say, tenets, and looking at how everything is impermanent. Things are always continuing to change. We can't rely on anything except for change. And in our lives, I think that's very true in terms of our life, our career, our relationship, even our theologies are oftentimes being tested, and we're seeing us mold them differently in terms of what we believe and how much we believe it and what nuances are coming into the way that we think. So I think that adaptability in that way is really important for us to embrace being adaptable so that we can better handle those things that are constantly shifting in our lives and being able to respond to it with a little bit more of an open mind and more gratitude. I really love that you brought gratitude into this, Christopher, because gratitude, I think, is the thing that I think is oftentimes missing when we're experiencing change. It's recognizing that we're having the opportunity or the experience of being able to have things adjust in our life. It's wonderful to have a change in our life, whether it's job, career, maybe not always relationships, but I've seen so many people just since the new year, since January 1st, have a major change in their relationship. And for many of them, it looks like it's a good decision on their part. It's a good change for them. Now, I'm not telling people up there, of course, to end your relationship and go find something new, because it's going to be all, what's the word? I can't even remember the language I used in my master class. It's not going to be all rainbows and sassafras, but it's you find that there are benefits that can sometimes be found by the change in a relationship.
Well, yeah, and if you need any evidence whatsoever that change is a natural process, or that it's good for the body, I mean, all you have to do is look at what the mind and the body are programmed to do. The brain is a changeable organ. We're talking about neuroplasticity here. I mean, each time you access a memory, you change it. Okay, and therefore the comfort of your memory, that security of that memory is 100% demolished, because we exist in a state of change or flux. The body itself is incredibly adaptable to whatever circumstances you put it under.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take somebody who sits in comfort all day long versus somebody who is accessing this kind of state of change or this state of flow and is putting itself in situations where it's forced to grow or forced into discomfort, which one do you think is going to live longer?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, chances are the person who's comfortable and sitting and sedentary is going to die first. Not that death is bad, because that's a change. That's one of the most beautiful transformations we go through. However, it's not conducive to life or to living. So life is definitely all about change and all about accessing that. And the proof is right here. I mean, that's just, it's right there, as plain as day for me.
We had a great question that came in from Regina Beat, and he said, how does the Buddhist approach to impermanence differ from the nihilist approach to impermanence, or practically?
I'm going to let you guys answer that first.
That's a good question. I think they're fairly similar. The Buddha's approach is in rooting you in the present moment, not necessarily denying anything as the nihilist would, or saying that there's no meaning or no purpose. If you get into real deep esoteric Buddhism, there is a sense of no purpose or no meaning. But ultimately, what I took from the many readings and teachings that I've learned from Buddha is that it's about accepting the fact that the present moment is not fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I go back to this time and time again with people. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. The only thing we have access to is this present moment, and it is ever changing and ever in flux. And so you can never achieve any level of fulfillment, happiness, joy, or gratitude if you're constantly fighting against the natural order. I mean, it's beating your head against a wall. Whereas the nihilist would just say that it has no meaning, or and I guess you mentioned practicality too.
Well, I hate to stab at the nihilists, and it's probably
I'm not. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm going to. Not
Okay.
you. Well, and it's because I think that it really comes down to, and I feel like I'm just bringing this right back around again, but it has to do with the intent of the impermanency. The Buddhist finds, again, that word, gratitude, in the impermanence of it. They embrace the change. They're thankful for the change. They recognize it. Every moment is a gift type of thing. And so you're enjoying that moment in which you're experiencing, where the nihilist looks at that impermanence almost as an insult. I don't know if that's the best word, but
or
it's
an affront. Yeah.
Yeah, an affront. It's that nothing is absolute, and because nothing is absolute, nothing can be cherished. Like nothing matters. I don't have to care about any of this because it will be gone the next moment.
Yeah, the nihilist places the importance on the fact that nothing is fixed.
Yes. It is almost more of a frustration. It's a lacking. Again, I'm stabbing at them, but it's a lacking in the thinking. It's more as though they're being, again, it's an affront toward them for not being able to have something that's permanent.
I think it's the end result, emotionally, or sort of like, in the Buddhist sense, they have a sense of peace at the thought of impermanence, whereas the nihilist is just, they're like, oh, well, it's pointless. This is stupid. Like there's no, the Buddhist feels fulfillment from it, whereas the nihilist doesn't.
Yeah. And I think there's also a difference in the understanding of time. The Buddhist sense in this case would be more cyclical or circular, whereas the nihilist approach is more of a linear. So if there is no place that we are ending up or going, then there's no point. If you exist in a circular fashion, then there's no end. And so that is the point.
Yeah. I like that. That should go on a t-shirt somehow.
Well, and
Just a circle and a line. Are you a line person or a circle person?
I feel like we need to get T-shirts made.